But our big story tonight, Congress President Rahul Gandhi has announced in Chhattisgarh today that his party, the Congress, if they come back to power, will ensure a minimum income guarantee to the poor. This move is being seen by some as a political masterstroke, others a move simply to preempt a Narendra Modi government announcement that is expected on similar lines later this week. Either way, it appears that Rahul Gandhi has played his hand in the battle for 2019.
हिंदुस्तान के हर गरीब व्यक्ति के बैंक अकाउंट में कम से कम न्यूनतम आमदनी हिंदुस्तान की सरकार देने जा रही है। मतलब हिंदुस्तान में ना कोई भूखा रहेगा, ना कोई गरीब रहेगा। और ये हम छत्तीसगढ़ में करेंगे, मध्य प्रदेश, राजस्थान, हर प्रदेश में करेंगे। हम दो हिंदुस्तान नहीं चाहते हैं, एक हिंदुस्तान होगा। और ये काम आज तक दुनिया की किसी सरकार ने नहीं किया है।
40 days after he introduced farm loan waivers in 3 Congress ruling states and pushed a few BJP ruling states to do the same, Rahul Gandhi is trying to dictate terms again, just 4 days ahead of the 2019 interim budget. The Congress chief has declared that he will introduce minimum income policy for every poor person in India if they are being voted to power.
ये ट्रांसफॉर्मेटरी मोमेंट है, ये एक बहुत बड़ी बात है। ये पूरी की पूरी गेम बदल के रख देगी। पॉवर्टी ट्रैप में जो लोग फंसे पड़े हैं ना, उनके लिए एक इस तरह का सॉल्यूशन है।
The BJP mocked Rahul's counter to Modi government, claiming that the announcement was outlandish.
I don't think you might be taking it very seriously if people of this country don't take such promises or such statements coming from Rahul Gandhi seriously. And in any case, he's invented nothing new. So this is nothing new, and that only shows his lack of imagination, lack of understanding, and above all, lack of seriousness.
The universal basic income is the brainchild of former Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramanian, who spelled out an outline in one of his economic surveys. But with only months ahead of the Lok Sabha polls, the question remains, is Rahul's declaration pragmatic? Is universal basic income an idea whose time has come? Bureau Report, India Today.
Right at the very top, my big question, income for all. Is this Rahul Gandhi's election jumla or is his political masterstroke? Let's go straight to our newsmaker tonight. I'm joined by the former Finance Minister, Mr. P Chidambaram. Joins me. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Chidambaram. You're also heading the Congress's manifesto committee. There will be those who will say this is an election jumla done without any thinking, simply to woo the electorate in a week where Narendra Modi and the Modi government is expected to make a similar announcement. Was this done without any thought, simply to preempt Mr. Modi's announcement?
That's an outrageous allegation. We've been thinking about it for several weeks. We have looked at what many others have said and written about it. We have looked at the chapter in the economic survey, and we have come to the conclusion that the time has come to assure the poorest of India a minimum level of income. We are adapting the UBI idea. The key word is adapting. This is not a universal basic income scheme. That scheme will give the same amount of money to everyone in this country, including you and me. That's not the idea. The idea is to target the poorest, 15% or 18% or 20%. Whoever are the poorest will be targeted, and their income will be raised to a minimum level. It's the same principle which underlines minimum wages. So it's a minimum income per household or minimum income per family. That's the idea, and we are confident that we can implement it.
But, you know, Mr. Chidambaram, you mentioned the economic survey of Arvind Subramanian, the chief economic advisor, spoke about this. He presented a model in 2016-17. You're now bringing it in the public domain in 2019, 2 years later, just before a major election. Naturally, people will see a political edge to what you're doing, that this is your attempt to woo the voter with what is seen by some as a populist promise.
We are not in government. Listen, do you want to discuss the economics of UBI? I do want to convert this into a political dialogue.
No, I'll come to the economics. I'll
We are
come to the
talking about
economics as well.
economics. We're talking about a serious economic idea. So let's talk about the economics. I'm not interested in a slanging match with anyone. I'm interested in the economics of it.
Okay, let's come to the economics then.
What Dr. Arvind Subramaniam had described was the UBI.
Right,
That's what I'm talking about.
right.
He described the UBI, and I've emphasized what we are doing is adapting the principle of UBI, underline, adapting the principle of UBI to target the poorest in this country so that their level of income will be brought up to a minimum level. And I've given you an example, not an exact parallel, but the principle behind the minimum wage. Developed countries raise their minimum wage from time to time so that nobody falls below what they call a poverty line in terms of their development stage. So we want to ensure that every family, every household is brought to a minimum level of income. That's the idea, and I think it's eminently doable.
You say it's eminently doable. I read an article recently which said the basic challenge was the prohibitive costs associated with it. Providing all individuals with a poverty line equivalent UBI, according to this figure, 1180 rupees per month for each individual on 2017-18 prices would cost around rupees 19 trillion or 11.4% of the GDP. That would be 50% more than the center's total tax revenues. I'm trying to understand, how is your scheme going to meet this major challenge of revenues? Have you thought it through?
That math is wrong. That math is wrong. Even Dr. Arvind Subramaniam's UBI, he has calculated, will cost 1.5% of GDP. So I'm not getting into discussion about numbers when we are not even face to face and we don't have paper and pencil in front of us. We'll flesh out the numbers in the manifesto.
So,
please remember, for any new idea, any novel idea, there will always be critics. When Kamaraj introduced the midday meal scheme in Tamil Nadu in 1954 or 5, he was told that the state will go bankrupt. Today, the midday meal scheme is a national program. Every state is implementing it. Congress promised loan waiver for farmers. It was criticized. Even on your channel, it was criticized severely. But we implemented it. 58,000 to 60,000 crore of loan was waived. And the immediate year following, credit improved, farm credit improved. So I think if we have the will, we can find a way. We are absolutely convinced that 70 years after independence, no family, no household should remain so poor that it cannot put food on the table, cannot afford clothes, cannot afford basic medicines.
but your critics will say that's an admission of failure, that it's over the 70 years, if we have been unable to, in a sense, provide our people with that basic income that lifts them out of poverty, or at least ensures that they have...
There you go talking about the politics of it.
No, no.
There you go talking about the politics of it. Oh,
No, because the politics is linked to the
talking about the
economics.
politics of it. I'm not interested in discussing the politics today.
Okay, but
Because I'm not interested in answering those questions today.
okay, let's look at it from again the economic
The
perspective.
economics of it.
Okay, let's look at the economics. You brought out...
There are other occasions we can talk politics.
Okay, there were other
problem
occasions.
is-
We are in an
problem
election
is-
year. Everything will
Listen,
be seen,
please
sir,
allow
through
me
a
to
political
speak.
prism.
The problem is, will you allow me to speak, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Rajdeep, will you please allow me to speak and conclude my sentences?
Go ahead.
The questions are longer than the answers.
Please go ahead.
We are not interested in the politics surrounding this idea. I want to use this opportunity to explain the economics of the idea.
Okay.
The point is that there are families, there are households which are below the income level, a minimum income level, and we are raising it. Let me confront anyone who says this idea is wrong. The philosophy behind this idea is wrong. Let me find anyone who will say this should not be done. Question is, should it be done? If it should be done, then we must find a way
Can I
how it can be done.
can
The
I
first
ask?
question to ask is,
Yes.
should this be done?
Okay.
We raised 100 and, please wait,
Yes.
140 million people, 140 million people were lifted out of poverty under the UPA between 2004 and 2014. That is conclusively established fact. Everybody has accepted that. But there are still people below the poverty line. We have to lift them. And that is why I say the time has come to lift everyone above the poverty line. We will start with the poorest of the poor and progressively move up to ensure that everybody is above the poverty line.
Would it be in the nature of a direct cash transfer? Are you seeing it as a direct cash transfer? Because we already have the Manrega scheme, which is now the Modi government claims it's taken even further forward and ensured that there are no leakages in it. So what kind of a scheme? Is it a direct cash transfer that you are looking at?
Direct transfer of cash is the simplest and neatest way to ensure that the money goes to the family. So that is the preferred option, but if there are better options, we can look at those options.
When you say there are better options, the reason I'm asking you this is because if you've seen in just the last few days, you've got the Naveen Patnaik government that's brought in its own kind of scheme for agriculture, farm laborers and tenants in terms of a direct cash transfer. You've earlier had the Raitu Bandhu scheme in Telangana. I'm trying to understand this scheme that you want to implement or Rahul Gandhi is announcing extends to both urban and rural households, and presumably from what you're saying, you will seek to identify all those below a particular poverty line figure and will give them a direct cash transfer. That's the large purpose of your scheme. Am I correct?
See, the schemes in Telangana and Odisha are limited to farmers. We are talking about a scheme that targets every poor household, rural or urban, farm or non-farm. The options that we talked about earlier were options to direct cash transfer. The preferred option is direct cash transfer. But if somebody comes up with a better method, we can look at that better method, is what I said. But our scheme is very different from the Telangana and the Odisha scheme. Ours is both farm and non-farm, urban and rural, targeting every poor household in this country.
Let me ask you
And
therefore,
we will start with the poorest and move up.
let me therefore ask you in conclusion, are you saying that this is your big ticket scheme of 2019? Is this what you believe if your government comes to power, or you are looking for it? Because the BJP side, and I know you say you don't want to address political questions, they are already calling it a Jumla. They are already saying this is a Jumla. So what would you tell the BJP today, which is calling your scheme a Jumla?
They can call whatever they like. They can call it whatever they like.
You're committed to
They
it.
can call it whatever they like. They will be in office for the next. They will be in office for the next 75 to 100 days. They were not able to come up with anything in the last 4.5 years. In the last 2 weeks, they're desperately, trying to catch up for their slumber over the last 4.5 years. So people know that. Every other day they make something, which, well, why didn't they do it for 4.5 years? We are now on the eve of an election. We are looking forward to the next government. Who the next government will be, the people of India will decide. But what we tell the people of India is, if you believe that we should form the next government, the Congress should form the next government with its allies, we promise that the poorest of this country will have the first right to the resources of this country, the first charge on the resources of this country. Look at the Oxfam report. If the Oxfam report does not move your conscience, does not move your heart, nothing will. There's growing inequality in this country, and the poorest remain very poor. So we have announced a scheme that will lift the poorest to a minimum level of income. When I can't believe anyone with a heart and anyone with a conscience can oppose it.
Let's leave it there. We'll wait to see how you flesh out this scheme, Mr. Chidambaram. You're the chairman of your party's manifesto committee. So we'll wait to see how you actually flesh out this scheme and turn it into reality. Thanks very much for joining me at the top of the news at 9 as my newsmaker.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.